Today, August 3rd, 2020, is the 1 year anniversary since the El Paso shooting, where a 21-year-old white man walked into a Walmart in El Paso, Texas with the mission to kill Hispanics. And he killed 23 people and injured about 23 more. The Common Will podcast did an episode on the 1 year anniversary, and they interviewed the El Paso Catholic priest Arturo Benuelas, who's done a lot of work helping families heal since this event. And you should definitely check out the whole podcast. The link is in the description. But they talked about how during this event, Benuelas said that the shooter did not come alone. On that day, he brought with him the President of the United States, the NRA, Fox News, neo-Nazis, and all others who have waved the bigoted flag of white supremacy. And that is how a lot of people, especially Latinx people, saw it. This isn't an individual thing. This is part of a larger, powerful force that has been pushing this narrative that the source of all our social and economic problems is Mexican immigrants, or all Mexican people, or even all Latinx people. This was the deadliest mass attack on Latinx people in recent American history. But it's also one of several attacks on Latinx people that are happening all the time. Hate crimes targeting Latinx people have increased every year since 2015. In 2018 alone, there was 485 incidents and 671 victims, according to the 2018 FBI hate crime statistics. And that's just the FBI number, excluding all the victims who didn't call the cops because they didn't want to be deported or killed, whether they came here illegally or not. Now, this shooter believed in a popular white supremacist conspiracy theory called the Great Replacement, which is very old and global, and the ones being replaced being white people, of course. And I personally think that the majority of conservatives actually believe at least a tame version of this theory, and they reveal that when they talk about immigration. And with this idea being rooted in white identity, that means it's not just first immigration immigrants that are under threat by this narrative, but all Latinx people that are under threat. That is how anti-immigrant rhetoric and propaganda function. And so the shooter started off his manifesto saying this attack is a response to the Hispanic invasion in Texas. He viewed the growing immigration wave as the reason for our economic plight and even our environmental plight. He believed the recent immigration wave was making life unsustainable. And he said, if we can get rid of enough people, then our way of life can become more sustainable. Remember, he was also an eco-fascist. He called his manifesto an inconvenient truth. He believed the science on climate change and believed that our planet is in trouble and unsustainable, but he believed a large reason for that was overpopulation and instability caused by immigration. You might hear legitimate eco-fascists say things like, save trees, not refugees. This also fits very nicely with the liberal reasoning for climate change, by the way, which perpetuates the myth that there are just too many people polluting and not being environmentally conscious, and not admitting to the fact that 71% of global emissions is caused by just 100 companies. Oh, it's not the unregulated practices and exploitation of these corporations, it's the straws. And all those people who posted videos of animals coming out after quarantine started and said stuff like, look, the earth is healing, or we are the virus. Yeah, all those people played into eco-fascist narratives, whether they realized it or not. So, liberal environmentalism isn't eco-fascist, but it definitely plays into similar narratives. And it's not enough to actually fix anything. And the shooter also said that immigrants will return home if given the right incentive. And so he and other American patriots will give them an incentive. That incentive being the threat of being murdered by American patriots if they don't leave. This is the threat that Latinx people are under in America today. And the Republican Party perpetuates this with their hateful anti-immigration rhetoric. And the Democrats think they're helping, but not really, because the liberal or Democrat pro-immigration argument is usually based in arguing that actually immigration helps the economy. When we allow them to freely come and go and work, it boosts the economy. And there's plenty of studies that show this. And that's true. But when I hear that, I also think at the same time, wow, that is so dehumanizing, because it also implies that Mexican immigrants are only okay because their labor boosts the economy. So, to the anti-immigration folks, Mexicans are not the reason for the problems in the economy, okay? And to the liberal pro-immigration folks, Mexicans aren't going to save your economy either, okay? The real source for our economic problems are the filthy rich capitalists at the top, hoarding the wealth and telling working class people to blame black and brown working class people for the lack of wealth and resources. And I personally believe the solution is to dismantle this whole system of hierarchical oppression that we call capitalism. And I believe that because I'm a Christian. The mission of a Christian should be to realize the kingdom of God in our material reality, which Jesus said looks like the reversal of the social order, where the first shall be last and the last shall be first. That's what it looks like to bring heaven to earth. The unfortunate thing is that we all know that way too many Christians have not seen Jesus' radical teachings that way over the last 2,000 years, and instead have used Jesus to justify colonization and domination. In that Common Will podcast, they also interviewed the Latina theologian Naomi de Anda, who talked about how so much of our history of domination is rooted in Christians reading that verse in Genesis 1 about God gives humans dominion over all the plants and animals in the earth, and interpreted it in a way that Jews never did, may I add, because it was their book first, and interpreted it to justify centuries of domination and oppressive hierarchies, instead of a more responsible interpretation, which sees that God gives humans the responsibility to care for the earth. And dominion refers more to that kind of responsibility. Instead, dominion is twisted into domination. And Christians today need to be honest about all the ways that Christians have used their religion in order to justify centuries of colonization and domination and violence and oppressive hierarchies, including racism as an oppressive hierarchy. Christianity is at the root of the origins of racism. And I'm currently working on a series where we can get way deeper into that. But not only do Christians need to be honest about the ways that our religion has been used to justify centuries of domination and violence, but if you're a Christian, we also need to do the work of dismantling and exorcising those theologies and Bible readings out of the way that we live our faith today. We have to reevaluate and deconstruct and decolonize the foundations of so much of our theology today. Lately, plenty of people have been quoting Ibram Kendi saying, "It is not enough to not be racist, one must also be anti-racist." And the same goes for our theology. Our theology must be anti-racist as well. And our theology must be anti-fascist as well, and provide a direct counter-narrative to the rise of fascism and white supremacy that is exhibited through events such as the El Paso shooting. White supremacy is real, and white supremacist violence is also real. If you are white, you have the privilege of being able to pretend that it's not real, but black and brown people are under that threat every day. And so, as we remember the victims of last year's shooting, I hope we can be inspired to join in this long and difficult work of fighting against white supremacy, which is a powerful force that is nowhere close to being defeated. Thank you for watching this video. Make sure you subscribe to see other videos like this. Also follow me on Twitch, where we stream all the time, talk about this stuff in a more free-form way. And tonight on Twitch, we're going to continue this conversation. And if you want to support me, I'd greatly appreciate it. You can support me on patreon.com/Damon Garcia. And let's end this video by shouting out my patrons already over there. Balaj Vince Seidel, Blessed Are the Poor, Josephine Clancy, Stephen Harp, Alex Albatross, The Commie Christian, Curses and Prayers, David, James Finley, Jason, Julianne King, Keegan James, Kristen Mouse, Mimi McGann, Marina Black, Mona Reed, New Transcendentalists, Nine Foldrin, Onion, Pollen Or, Peter A., Peter John Blake, Randall Day, Ranger Jenny, Refined Your Scene, Samuel Sakwe, Stephen Hu, and everyone else. I appreciate the support. See you later. Bye-bye.